Hi, everybody. Joanna here. Today I'm going to be talking about some standalone books and maybe a couple of short story collections that I hope to get to in 2024. The reason that this particular video is a bit late is that I started a new Discord. So I now have a Discord with Matt from Matt on Books and Josh from Red Fury Books. We explained all the details behind creating the Discord and everything in Josh's live stream. So you could check that out, or you could check out the video announcement that Matt made. So I'll just go ahead and link both. But we would love to have you there if you're interested. It's called The Fireside. So even though I probably won't get to every single one of these books on this list, I will probably be updating what I'm reading in that Discord. But of course, comments are always welcome here on the channel as well. So if you don't want to do Discord, then please feel free to engage with me here in the comment section. Because this video is late, I've already read the first book on my list, and that is Simon Jimenez's The Spear Cuts Through Water. And this was gifted to me from Evie from She Was Only Evie. She did a wonderful interview with Simon Jimenez. And it seems like Simon Jimenez is not somebody who does a lot of interviews. So it was a rare and wonderful interview. I highly recommend checking it out. I did post it on my community tab. And this is the second Jimenez book I've read. I read The Vanished Birds by him a couple of years ago and really enjoyed it. Had a wonderful discussion at that time on Evie's channel with Jimmy and Angela and Evie. And I did put this book off for a while, but I'm so glad that I read it when I did because it did take me some time to get through it. I didn't feel like this was a fast read for me. And I have a lot to say, but I'm going to save my thoughts for when I do a future video. But yes, I've already read one of my standalones, and that is The Spear Cuts Through Water. The next standalone book is a classic, and that is Rebecca by Du Maurier. I am currently reading this book with Andrew from Andrew's Wizardly Reads, and we're having a wonderful time discussing this book together. It's a gothic tale that is told in first person narration from a woman who marries an older man. The older man had a wife who previously died, and the wife's name was Rebecca. So this particular character is haunted by the memory of this person's ex-wife, and it's pretty interesting. It has some interesting creepy vibes to it, but it's also just an interesting psychological exploration from this character's perspective. And I'll go ahead and provide more thoughts when I finish it, but just for now, loving Rebecca by Du Maurier. Another buddy read I am currently reading is The Bone Clocks by David Mitchell. So yeah, I'm right away tackling these standalones this year. So this was highly recommended from Jimmy from the Fantasy Network, and I'm buddy reading this book right now with Fantasy Awash. We do plan to have a live show if she ends up sticking it out. I hope she likes it. And all I could say about this book so far is that it is in first person narration and it takes place at the beginning in 1984 following a young teenage character. So I'm liking the 80s vibes that are happening in this story. It seems very character driven and it seems to be doing some really interesting mind bending things with time and memory. There are some interesting things that I already don't understand fully, and I expect they'll be explained further on in the novel. The next book is another one that I'll be buddy reading, and that is Tigana by Guy Gavriel Kay. This I will open a discussion about in the Fireside Discord if you want to join us for thoughts. But this will be my third Guy Gavriel Kay novel, and from what I understand, it's the most fantasy-like of all of his books. I know some people really didn't care for this book, and then some people loved it. So I don't know exactly what I'll feel when I go into it. I just know that I loved The Lions of Alrasan, and I loved A Song for Arbonne, which you probably all know if you've been here for a while. So this one we will read in April. Towards the end of 2023, I did a short video about 5 sci-fi books I'm very curious about, and I've already knocked one off the list, which is The Dispossessed by Ursula K. Le Guin. That was technically on my standalone list for last year, but I finished it at the beginning of January, already did a video about it. Apparently, Alan from the Library of Alexandria is going to do a response video because we buddy read that book together and he had very different thoughts about that book. But there are 4 other sci-fi books on that list, and so I want to get to Flowers for Algernon, which is a book I'm pretty sure I did read when I was in high school. I was talking about this with my mother, and she said, I think you did read that. So we're both pretty sure I read it, but for whatever reason, I just remember the movie more than the book, and I'll go ahead and read it even if it's a reread. And I also have plans to get to the other ones mentioned in that video. Ubik by Philip K. Dick, Snow Crash by Neil Stevenson, Solaris by Stanislaw Lem, already have buddy read plans for that one. And I think that's just about it. So if you want more detailed thoughts about those particular books, please check out that video. I did get some wonderful recommendations from people in the comment section. And one book recommendation that came up a couple of times is Roadside Picnic. So I think I'm going to get to that. It's not terribly long. I understand it's a first contact story and a very popular one. And I think it's translated from Russian. So that's on my list for this year if I can get to it. And then next, I'm also going to be inserting another sci fi book, which is In Ascension. This was on the long list for the Booker Prize in 2023. I've heard wonderful things about this book. I've also seen some reviews that were a little lukewarm. Some people found this very slow paced. So I understand it also follows a marine biologist and it's also considered a first contact story. I think I'm going to be buddy reading this in February with Jimmy and Murphy. But it is a very long book, so I'm not sure if that will go into March or not. In any case, I do have a copy thanks to the wonderful Whitney from Secret Sauce of Storycraft. She did a sci-fi unhaul, and so I was able to acquire this as well as a couple of other books that other people recommended in that sci-fi standalones video in the comment section. Speaking of Whitney from Secret Sauce of Storycraft, she's doing some quarterly buddy reads through her channel and Discord. And I think I might join her for her buddy read of The City and the City by China Miéville. And I know absolutely nothing about this book, except that I understand it's a standalone. And I've been very curious about China Miéville after hearing so many wonderful praises for this author last year on various channels. So I think I'm going to join that buddy read if I can fit it in. Now, the big one, Lonesome Dove by McMurdy. A couple of years ago, I guess towards the end of 2022, I decided that I really wanted to read Shogun by James Clavell and I wanted to read Lonesome Dove. Both books are not fantasy and they are both tomes. They're huge. So I decided that last year, 2023, would be my year of tackling Shogun, which I did. I succeeded in reading Shogun. And so then I decided that this year, 2024, would be my year of tackling Lonesome Dove. And it turns out there are quite a few friends of mine on the fireside who are interested in reading that book this year as well. It seems to be going through a renaissance on BookTube right now. I've heard a lot of people talk about this book and love it. I watched the miniseries when I was a kid, so I kind of know what I'm in for. And I still remember the character of Gus and how I felt about that character. So I know this is going to be a very character driven, emotional story and I'm really looking forward to getting to it. I have a feeling I'm going to love Lonesome Dove. Now, I have to keep up my dude bro status by reading Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. I've actually taken an interest in this for other reasons that would be a whole topic video, but I actually am genuinely interested in this book. I'm not just joking around with the dude bro thing, even though it is very popular among a certain male demographic on YouTube. So, Marcus Aurelius Meditations, I know that this is kind of despised by Alan. And I know Laura from Fantasy Awash also looks down on this book or frowns down upon it as just some guy's journal. I'm still curious, going to go into it with an open mind, but I do hope to get to this year. Now for a couple of collections of stories, and I'll be honest, I am the worst when it comes to novellas and short stories. I don't know what my block is about that. It's very strange. It makes no sense, especially because there have been a couple of novellas I've absolutely loved. There have been a couple of short stories that have stayed with me long term. But for whatever reason, it's just very difficult for me to gravitate towards short story collections or novellas. But one of these on the list I am certain I will love, and that is A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms by George R. R. Martin. This is very beloved among A Song of Ice and Fire fans, and if you didn't know, I'm a huge A Song of Ice and Fire fan, so I have no doubt I will love it. I've heard the audiobook is excellent as well, so I'll probably double up with the audio. There's just no reason for me not to get to this. I need to get to this. Hold me accountable. And then the next book is The Paper Menagerie by Ken Liu. Last summer, I took a trip to Singapore and Australia. Well, first to Australia, then to Singapore. And when I was in Australia, I did some book shopping. I took a picture of this book, but I didn't buy it. And so I might have gotten chewed out a little bit for not picking it up because people love this book. And so I decided when I went to Singapore to pick it up at a bookstore there, and I did. I haven't read anything by Ken Liu yet. There are 16 short stories in here, so maybe I'll give some of these a shot in 2024. So that is it. That is my list of standalones and short story collections I hope to get to in 2024. Please let me know in the comments section down below if you've read any of the books or if you're planning to read any of these books because I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day. Bye bye.